used to be able to do 100 push-ups in 1 second.
Damn, bro. I'm so fat.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Not even. You're just sturdy. I call that sturdy. Being sturdy. Yeah, it's a little hot here, huh?
It's hot outside today.
Yeah, it's warm out. Fuck. God damn, that was only. Fuck.
That was 100?
No, that was 70.
Wow. I got 30 done.
Okay. That's good though.
How much you weigh?
Not a lot, like 145.
Wow. Light, bro. Yo, you should get to. You should get to in for like a fight, bro. Like a boxing match.
For what do you mean, where?
I think a lot of people would pay like to watch you fight somebody.
Yeah, where though?
Huh?
Where though?
I don't know, but like I could just see that being a successful event.
Yeah, that sounds fun. You might be right.
People would love it up for sure.
Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Damn, I haven't done 100 push-ups in a while.
How many did you do today?
I just did 90 now.
Well, how many do you normally do, like, daily?
Yo, man,
I don't really do push-ups anymore.
fix the camera.
Okay.
So with this pre-sale, still not bought out yet?
Yeah. Well, I think it's like, it's gonna take time and it's like good.
Yeah.
I'll just like market it slowly over time and keep streaming.
Right. Now it's to eat this fucking sandwich. I'll work at 3:45.
Time to go in, so.
2:45, and I'm closing tonight, so probably like midnight.
Nice.
It feels pretty good. I got a little pump in.
Where were you gonna work out?
Yeah, I was gonna go to Blink.
Where's that?
The one on it's a chain, but the one on Lafayette. It's like in Soho.
That's pretty cool. What is that? It's like a gym?
Yeah, it's like a cheap. It's like a poor man's Equinox. It's like a regular gym. It's like Crunch or whatever.
I gotta figure out what's up with my Equinox subscription.
Wow, this bread is like stale.
Yeah. From the market? Where's that from?
It's like kind of supposed to be hard. It's from Regina's.
Nice.
Sometimes the bread's softer though, which is always good. Oh, this has to be one of the best iced teas ever. Oh my god, it's so good. Did I know him? He was like posted on his Instagram. He was like, DJs, there's too many DJs. He's like, you're not a DJ if you don't have like take political stances on. You're just someone who plays music.
What?
And then yeah, they're like, he's like, need more DJ. I see DJs taking fit pics and doing shit, doing like shit for clout. And then he's like, need more DJs to take political stances. I'm like,
That's
yeah,
so
if you want to be broke, sure.
That's so
Go for
funny.
it. You want to be fucking broke?
That's hilarious.
Dude, how do you like? Or how do you respond to like when you hear people like fucking just like spreading some negative shit? Specifically bitches, like
Negative shit about what?
I don't know, like when somebody's just fucking spreading negative shit and
About
they're
me?
like, oh, like Levy did this, like fuck Levy, like, and you hear about it.
I can't really do anything, which is like the annoying part.
Yeah.
It's like what?
It's like you want to hear more, but then it's like, what's the point? Because it's just gonna like, it's just gonna put you in a negative state of mind, and then be more like
Yeah.
reluctant to like be friends with other people,
Yeah.
which can like, just like.
I mean, honestly, at this point, I just tell myself like people, like everyone who has like a buzzer on them or knows a lot of people,
Has some
or is
bullshit.
popular, yeah, has somebody saying some bullshit about them.
Totally. And a lot of times it's crazy motherfuckers too.
Yeah.
Like it's like crazy motherfuckers that like you like let too close and then they
Mhm.
fucking like that's like all they have. Like I don't know. Like but the shit is just so annoying. Like it just like it's like wanting to just be quiet sometimes. Like and it's like not. It's like annoying because it's kind of like against what I'm like also trying to do.
So there's like I heard. So someone I know, my boy was telling me about this guy that I know. He's like, it was like, oh, I heard stuff about him. I heard he's not a great guy. I'm like, oh, can I elaborate on that? And he was like, oh yeah, you know, girls just be talking, but yeah, like, you know, he's like, I didn't see anything. I don't know anything, but like, some girl said that he like gives girls too much drugs, or like. Some girls say like he gave me like too many drugs or whatever. And I'm like, this is in the Hamptons because this kid like gets a house in the Hamptons every weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, so.
Oh yeah.
So shorty's like we're down, so for the lifestyle, and then
Nah.
what like.
It's crazy.
Like now they want to like say they like
That shit's
too many drugs like.
Yeah, that shit's retarded.
Oh, it's well that I mean that shit's retarded because then they'll it's like they'll claim they fucking got drugs. Right?
Yeah.
It's like bro, you willingly
Yeah.
fucking bought them or something like
It's like you could say no, bro. So this girl I know was telling me how she's like, yeah, I got so fucked up the other night because I did like shrooms and then someone gave me ketamine and then someone gave me TUC. I'm like, you realize you don't have to take all that stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
people offering you shit or like trying to give you shit.
Don't gotta do
You
anything.
could say, it's like you literally just say no. You don't have to just say it.
Yeah. There's like, it just like there's like a lot of tension in the air, and it just seems like, just seems so much better to just stay away from degeneracy.
That's because you're on Twitter all the time.
Yeah, that's too. It's true too, but also in life, I mean, dude,
Yeah.
you can get pretty degenerate the deeper you fucking stay into the fucking night and the scene, honestly.
Yeah. Cool. I've been, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's just like when you're not working a job, and you're just up to no good.
Yeah.
It's like, alright, what are we doing here?
I think there's tension for sure. I've been trying to like put myself in a headspace where I'm like, get my own lane where like I'm not like a victim to like to tension and to other people's like anxieties and stuff.
Yeah. So stupid. It is that though. Like every time you start popping, people just start fucking talking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so fucking annoying. But like, what are you really supposed to do with that information? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so and so doesn't like me and they're talking shit. Like, okay.
Someone talking shit about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was like just hearing about it last night.
Oh yeah. Like girls or guys?
Just girls. But it's like it's also stupid because it's like girls texting me to also like try to get my attention too. So I just like fucking delete the chat. And I'm like, all right, great. Okay. Girls are actually such a massive distraction.
Yeah. Distraction and liability.
Like they're like, yeah, it's just stupid, man.
Liability. Heavy on the liability.
Yeah. What up, Omar?
Hey.
$115. Yeah. It's like we're done with whatever happened, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, what was your read? Yeah.
Well, one, it's always a funny observation. These liquidations and sell-offs. I mean, this was.
I see my timeline is full of despair. I see this looks really bad, but things are down like 10-15%. What's going on? And then you go look on TradingView. So okay, something clearly happened. So you go on TradingView and you see these wicks. Wicks like I've never seen. I've never seen wicks like this.
These liquidations and sell-offs. I mean, this was insane. I was like yelling at my phone when I was trying to get back to the computer quick enough.
Is that Marcus Gurley?
But
No.
they all
It's
feel
Avi.
so grim,
No, the guy on
and
the
they're
right.
always buying.
It's not a.
This episode is brought to you by Kraken Custody. You'll hear more about them later in today's episode. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk, terms, and conditions apply.
All right, everybody, welcome to For Guidance, live at DAS, Digital Asset Summit in London. Excited to be doing this live this time. Joined today by Avi Feldman, 1000X. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me on the pod. This is always fun. Love listening to you
Yeah.
both. So
Good day,
Amazing
mate.
tradition. Yeah, and we got Quinn. Quinn's jumped in for the afternoon, so I'm actually going to be joined by my Andre, host in chief. So, Yeah.
It's Tyler this week, so everything's
Yeah, well, what's
PG. We can do it live. When you record with Tyler, you can't do live.
oh yeah,
Some bombs in there. Yeah.
it's kind of fun though.
Yeah.
Oh, so you gotta have those guys. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like just like a tradition that we do these at the conferences. So.
I know we did it at DAS New York last time.
Yeah.
We had Jonah, but Jonah's busy. He's got 3 kids. I've got 0. So I get to go to London.
Dads are home, and then we're all here.
I get to go to London, have a little fun,
Yeah,
run around.
yeah, I love it.
See you, Jonah.
Yeah, exactly. Man, so a lot's happened since the last roundup we had. That was yeah. Sometimes you just get punched in the face, you know.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the most crazy days. Not just because of the price action, but because of sort of how I found out about it. Is that I actually like barely noticed because I was off the desk that day, which was a horrible decision, but I had to be. But it was one of those things where I checked the CoinGecko and I went on. It was like, okay, all right, yeah, I see my timeline is full of despair. I see this looks really bad, but things are down like 10-15%. What's going on? And then you go look on TradingView. So okay, something clearly happened. So you go on TradingView and you see these wicks. Wicks like I've never seen. I've never seen wicks like this.
COVID.
I
COVID without COVID.
even COVID. Like I I distinctly remember trading COVID. I was glued to my desk for 24 hours straight the night of March 12th, 2020. I was glued to my desk. And it was a slow cascade. Bitcoin started at about 7,700 and bottomed out at 3,000. Massive dip, way bigger than this dip. But it was a cascade and you felt like the world was ending. But you also understood kind of what was happening, right? Like, okay, so the NBA, I was glued to my desk for 24 hours straight the night of March 12th, 2020. I was glued to my desk. And it was a slow cascade. Bitcoin started at about 7,700 and bottomed out at 3,000. Massive dip, way bigger than this dip. But it was a cascade and you felt like the world was ending. But you also understood kind of what was happening, right? Like, okay, so the NBA just shut down their season. Donald Trump got up there and said that there's this virus that's taking over the world and it's coming from China. And we were sitting there going, okay, this is serious. This time it was just boom.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
One tweet from Trump. It's always Trump.
Yeah.
One tweet from Trump. And just the market falls apart.
Yeah.
It was, you know.
Yeah, it was insane. And then you look at the different exchanges too, and the wicks are so different. So obviously it looks like, you know, people have been doing a lot of postmortems on the timeline the last couple of days, trying to figure out what happened. And it seems like a lot of the pain came from Binance. And it was actually an interesting debate I was listening to a couple hours ago on at the conference here, and we had Haseeb and Jordy Alexander debating this idea of, you know, can synthetic dollars create the next Luna-style crash? And they're going both ways. Jordy was arguing that it is going to be the next kind of Luna-style crash. Haseeb was on the other side of things, and that is more just an idiosyncratic risk on the Binance side, where they did not hard code to Tether USDT, whereas something like Aave was hard coded in terms of the USDT.
But only as of recently.
Yeah, only
recently. Very lucky.
Yeah,
Very lucky.
yeah. So that's where a lot of the pain happens. We've learned since that, I saw a headline that Binance has since refunded people that got whacked by the USDT peg where it was not hard coded. So that seems to be obviously like, you know, my read is that the market was trying to positioning was scratched. We've seen open interest elevated for a while, and you know, we were going back and forth on the last couple of roundups, being like, all right, we can see the macro backdrop, and that's still bullish. In my opinion, we can get into this, but it was clear where we were going. It's just you got to navigate the positioning dynamics. We're trying to do our best, but at the end of the day, you know, you get one really negative out of nowhere Trump tweet. That's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I'll say about the stablecoin stuff is that it's really it's a function of liquidity what's happening on this way. It's a function of liquidity. It's that at the moment that everything came apart, nobody was there to buy. And so obviously if you have huge amounts of liquidations coming down the pipeline, every buyer is going to wait. So it all happened very quickly. There was a cascade, but it was at the end of the day technical.
Yeah.
And the positions that were liquidated were mostly delta neutral, actually. A lot of positions, like these, whenever you see a tweet out there talking about a market maker blowing up, market makers are delta neutral. So generally, for every long, they'll have a short turn against it. They'll be long Bitcoin, short Zcash or something like that.
But it's like it's all tea just to like serve the
But
market.
you know,
Like,
so what happens is when the market starts collapsing in on itself and there's no liquidity, their long will get liquidated.
yeah, it could be like the Trump team. I mean, Pelosi was doing it for a while.
They're short, but
Her husband,
liquidity is
shit.
kind of all over the place. What doesn't happen is what happened with Luna. So when Luna collapsed, they had billions of dollars of
Avi
Bitcoin
followed your
on
Twitter
balance
today,
sheet
by the way.
they needed to sell to cover their losses.
Yeah.
Market makers don't
I mean, it,
have huge inventories
Yeah.
of just outright long positions to offer them.
that's why, like, dude,
So you
I
don't
have
see
because
this
your noties are on, and it's
ongoing
interesting
issue,
to like who you
where the
follow.
market
So
continues to bleed out. You get this one big.
I'm just like slowly growing it.
When you helped me start it, like,
Works through
you were just telling me to, like,
and then reverts to normal.
follow who
Which
you
is
follow,
why
get
you
turn
saw a lot of the,
notifications
you know,
on.
I love it
Twitter
because it's
guys
like
get on
it allows
sides
me to,
over
like,
the weekend saying, okay,
it allows me to
this
cook.
is right
Because
now
I see it's facts the
technical
DJ,
sell-off.
and then I get to like
Could turn into a
do
fundamental
extra
sell-off if Trump keeps
tweeting,
pushing China,
commenting and
but right
stuff,
now it's not.
which is
And
like
that's
helpful,
where I
and it's
stand
more
now
helpful
with Bitcoin.
than
I think it's
an
114.
account that nobody knows.
It's like we're done with whatever happened, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, how's your read?
Because like I can
Well, one,
I can reply
it's always
guy
a
I can
fun
reply guy like
observation.
I'm really good at reply
These
guy.
liquidations and sell-offs.
I
I mean, this was
these guys
insane.
and they're
I was,
like they're used to
yelling
seeing
at
my
my
name,
phone
but they're
when I
not
was
used to seeing your name.
trying to
so
get back
it's
to
like,
the computer
even if
quick
both of our
enough.
names show up, it's better than
but they
Yeah.
all feel so
Yeah, I realize
good,
now all the people
and they're
like
always
are not-
buys.
some of the
That's
people
one
I
thing that
followed from
every
you
time
and have their noties
there's
on,
a
they're
different
just, like,
reason in your head
scammers
or
and-
Yeah, they are,
that's
for sure.
like why it is.
I'm gonna
or
change
is
that
this the
up.
end
Like,
of
I'll
us
change it up to a
forever?
good one.
You know, and
Everyone's
some
using
it
the
is,
study account
obviously,
too.
but, it's always the buy on these cascades because it's just like you said, so much technical selling, and even if it was catalyst driven or exploit driven or whatever the ultimate explanation becomes, it just tons of either forced liquidations or voluntary unwinds of positions that at the end of the day is technical, and we've seen it, the bounce. But my observation when I'm over the weekend as well and in the immediate was I'm watching Bitcoin and it's not even moving. I mean, it's down a couple percent, and I'm like,
Quick to like 103 or something, and then it was
So-
like we're back.
and
Yeah.
we always, I know you talk about on 1000X too. Everybody, you know, crypto participants don't even really own Bitcoin anymore. It's even though it's a top performing asset, it's the ETFs and it's a different market. But so part of it probably has to do with like the average participants just gambling on all this bullshit. But that is incredibly bullish. I mean, this thing went down to the bottom tick on Coinbase was 107 maybe. Like
Yeah,
and
that
it-
feels like one
for
or
a
two Binance.
second,
Right? Yeah.
and so I'm looking at and I'm sitting there and it's like, and even over this weekend I'm like, what do you buy? On the one hand, okay, the safe play is Bitcoin because that is just it didn't even it sucked this liquidity. It wicked December 2024 highs for a second and came back to a higher low. So like one, I'm just like, God, man, that is so bullish Bitcoin. But you know, then you don't get as much of the reversion play as you know. You see some of these alts like down 34.
You could get levered up.
Yeah. So that got wiped out. You know, get right back in the game.
Yeah.
Shoot. But
Yeah, compared to something like Atom, I saw it traded at
Yeah.
basically like literally zero.
Yeah.
so that was my biggest takeaway. Was like, I kind of was just, I'm still kind of, because with that level of liquidation, obviously the carnage was in alts, but you know everybody's cross margined. Everyone's got.
Yeah.
You're selling. It's like baby out with the bathwater. It's like in TradFi when there's a big bad day. Everything's the same on a sheet of paper. It gets tossed, so gold's down 1 or 2%. That's your signal to buy. You know, big sell-offs in the traditionals because you're like, okay, if gold got hit, the safe haven.
Yeah.
In this case, it's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Looking for secure, regulated digital asset custody? Kraken Custody delivers institutional-grade qualified custody for institutions and high net worth clients. With multi-layer security, your assets stay safe, fully segregated, and always under your control. Trade, stake, and transfer directly from qualified custody thanks to Kraken Custody's seamless integration with Kraken Prime. Discover qualified custody built for performance at kraken.com/blockworks. Not available in certain geographies, custody services provided by Kraken Financial, a Wyoming chartered special purpose depository institution, and deposits are neither insured by nor subject to the protections of the FDIC. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. View legal disclosures at kraken.com/legal/disclosures. The machine economy is here. Devices are monetizing data for their users all over the world. Tokenized robots are generating revenue for token holders. The first machine economy free zone is live in the Emirates, and it's all happening on Peak, the machine economy computer. Head to peak.xyz, that's peaq.xyz, to find out how you can benefit from the age of automation, or click the link in the show notes to find out more. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk, terms, and conditions apply.
Well, I guess the big question now is like you zoom in, you're like, all right, so what's changed since the last time we talked a week ago? And obviously there was, for a moment, some fundamental changes where, okay, we had China coming forth with trying to squeeze the precious metal, the rare metals market situation, and that led to Trump to come forth with 100% tariffs. You're like, okay, that's a fundamental change. Then, you know, as he does, by Sunday, it looks like they're trying to off-ramp that again. So you got to pair that with being the catalyst and also this fundamental change. But it does look like, you know, we're going to walk back a little bit. Big question now is, there's that Trump Xi Jinping summit at the end of the month, and you're like, all right, we have this air pocket where they can still escalate and be able to still de-escalate afterwards. So there's still that potential tension, tail risk. But at the same time, like when I look at my macro framework right now, nothing's changed for me. I don't know what you guys say.
No, nothing's changed because I think these tariffs, which I align with you on, Trump is has consistently walked them back, and I think he will continue to consistently walk them back, because the reality is, an actual trade war between the U.S. and China is catastrophic. And Trump, as you can see, I think a lot of this, you just have to understand the guy. He cares so much about his image. I mean, that's why he's trying to go for the Nobel Prize. That's why he's always talking about the stock market, right? He cares a lot about his image, and the one thing that he doesn't want to do is be responsible for some sort of, catastrophic meltdown. Additionally, I think that he understands that the market could be in a precarious spot if earnings start coming back badly. I think everyone sort of understands this. So that's the other side of it, is that I do think, maybe a little contrary to what you guys have discussed, or maybe you agree with it, that we're in a position where if earnings for one company comes back, it's okay. 2, you're looking at a little bit shaky, and 3, you're thinking, okay, so this rapid growth that we've seen from this AI boom, is that unraveling? Let me get out. And so it's really important to see continued growth right now, in a way that it probably wasn't six months ago when you did have some bad earnings calls. So that's the only other thing I'm nervous about. I'm wondering, what do you guys think about that?
I think they will be okay. I think I agree with you about this patch of a lot of the data I look at, forward-looking economic, and it points to a pretty Goldilocks type environment next year, starting even as soon as January. The government shutdown added a wrinkle to this, because you have nerves, not loud nerves, but nerves around a growth scare in this patch, that is not helpful when they potentially, I've read some pretty credible things that they might use this as even a bigger doge, which is still a risk of like permanent layoffs. So I think that's sort of in the backdrop. And then when you just take Friday's price action, like, we cut through, I mean, it was indiscriminate selling. Yeah. Crypto started to sell off first, and one of the first things I wrote was, the best trade here, we covered our longs. I was long, got whacked.
Good move.
But
good move to cover.
And I didn't put, I was like messaging some buddies, I was like, short Mag 7 here, right when it came back. Because that's the other thing here, why he sort of has to taco is, 40% of our stock market, Mag 7, has 20 to 30% of their revenues from China. So you want to pick a big battle here, sure, but then you're going to take a big hit, and they can't have that. So you have that backstop, and so I thought still think that's area is the most at risk. I actually think like Bitcoin outperforms that going into year end. Yeah. But navigating this, and I still do think there's an escalatory potential. Like, because if you're China, why didn't you turn in the knife here? Yeah. When you know he had it.
You have the runway.
Like, yeah. And I do I think they do de-escalate ultimately, but you kind of
how high do they go first? Yeah.
On the business from China, that's such a key point.
Yeah.
That I'll tell you a story. So my dad's an old school guy. He's an economist. That's where he comes from. And so we're talking about the tariffs, and he's saying, I don't understand. And he's a really smart guy, in my opinion. He goes, I don't understand. How can we have all these massive tariffs, and the market just keeps going up and up and up and up? Somebody's got to pay for it. The consumer's got to pay for it. The government's got to pay for it, or the company's got to pay for it. And the answer is, none of the tariffs affect the things that are driving the market right now. Exactly. They don't affect the Mag 7. Yeah. Who cares if Ford comes back? If Ford blows up tomorrow, the market is not down that much. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And they probably get bailed out anyways.
Right. So that's sort of the tension here, and that's why the market reacts so forcefully to China tariffs, is because that's the one that matters.
Yeah.
The rest of the tariffs, they actually could be net beneficial for us in terms of raising money for the government.
Yeah.
And these companies that are getting hurt are not the drivers of the stock market.
Right? Yeah. And then you add in this layer right now of this. You keep hearing about the K-shaped economy, but I think it's really true. I've been saying this recently, and I've been getting some flack for it, but the stock market is the economy, and I truly believe that, because in this K-shaped world, yes, the bottom leg of the K is struggling right now, near recessionary, but the reason why we have higher GDP growth is because asset owners, their stocks keep going up, because the Mag 7 keeps going up, and then they keep spending, and then that creates higher GDP growth, and then they keep spending and consuming. So even though, yes, tariffs might hit that lower K, they're not the ones spending and driving GDP growth. It's the Ponzi of equities going higher, giving more income for the rich people to keep spending like crazy. So you just have this continuation. This is sick.
100%. I mean, look, and I'm sure you guys experience this too. I know myself. If I look at my portfolio, and it's up a lot. Like I'm getting that extra guap. I'm contributing to the economy a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's what's really important here, which is why I think he walks it back. But I don't want this bullishness to get misconstrued by the people that are trading meme coins and all. Because I do genuinely think Friday was a turning point for altcoins.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to take a very long time for that exuberance to come back to the markets in the useless stuff. The good stuff, where flows are actually going, are doing really well. Like BNB is doing ridiculously well because Binance is doing well, and I think a lot of it's off the news that Trump's considering, letting CZ operate in the U.S. more freely, considering pardoning him. I don't know if that was real or not, but the looking at allowing them to have perps in the U.S. was real. They just got a potential investment from China Renaissance Bank for $600 million, and so things are looking up for Binance, and so BNB as a proxy of that is going to get flows, and it could actually turn into an institutional asset, which is and that's what's happening right now. Because the market's institutionalizing, the stuff that can get big money flows is going to do well. SNX does well because people are nervous about hyperliquid, and they're like, oh, this thing ridiculously undervalued, and Kane's a good guy, and Xi Jinping turned into a meme coin, and he really likes it, but it is going to get flows, and it could actually turn into an institutional asset, which is and that's what's happening right now. And I think a lot of it's off the news that Trump's considering, letting CZ operate in the U.S. more freely, considering pardoning him. I don't know if that was real or not, but the looking at allowing them to have perps in the U.S. was real. They just got a potential investment from China Renaissance Bank for $600 million, and so things are looking up for Binance, and so BNB as a proxy of that is going to get flows, and it could actually turn into an institutional asset, which is and that's what's happening right now. Because the market's institutionalizing, the stuff that can get big money flows is going to do well. SNX does well because people are nervous about hyperliquid, and they're like, oh, this thing's ridiculously undervalued, and Kane's a good guy, and Xi Jinping turned into a meme coin, and he really likes it, but it has a real product. It's filling a real niche, which is, hey, maybe there's worry about these other decentralized platforms. Let's try SNX. The vast majority of other things out there, like, what's a Cardano going to do now, right?
You saw the reaction.
Like for the people that were levered long Cardano, are they going to get levered long Cardano again?
Yeah.
Yes, probably.
I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Fair loan, or they'll show some reference or something to get a few bucks and then put that back levered long. But
Okay, fair enough.
But they'll long it from down here after the dribble, not from.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being too, because this is what I want to happen. Like I want.
We say this every time, and then 6 months later, and then it's like,
But it's 6 months later. That's the key.
yeah.
6 months. You need
The marginal bid for alts is dead now. Like that money, that was just it was coming from meme coins and going to the perp dex farming, and then you had all these new people that were trying to learn how to perp dex trade and stuff, and they got carried out. So that money's gone. But then the institutional flows, which are driving Bitcoin mostly, that stuff is fine. They're not on hyperliquid.
Yeah.
They're not perp trading on even Binance or anything. So it's ETFs.
ETH was fine.
yeah, it's higher than.
If this had happened 6 months ago, ETH would have went down like 90%. I mean, God, ETH has a bid now, and that's really what I think.
Thank you, Chairman Lee.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, BNR.
The contra, just to play devil's advocate, I'd probably lean more towards you guys' take on that, is just go through the positioning of these alts. Like, leverage is obliterated, and in a lot of cases funding's still negative, so there's squeeze potential. And the other thing is, say we get a break in a couple weeks or month of corn to like a real, and we're moving again in a upward trending environment. I kind of think that all the people that just got wiped are doubling down and trying to make it all back. So I'm kind of, and are they going to go 4x on corn to do that? Probably not. They're going right back probably to the same games.
Yeah.
They shouldn't.
I'm not recommending.
That's true. But our job is not to tell people what they shouldn't do. Our job is to try to predict what they might do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fair. It's a fair
Totally.
point.
And so I guess the big question now, just to play the tail risk situation of this whole thing is, obviously everybody's thinking about 2022, where it took a few weeks for the dead bodies to start to float to the surface. It took a few weeks to understand how that cascaded into 3AC. So, okay, maybe, whoever got carried out is still trying to, go get some loans quietly right now to stay solvent. So I could also see the argument that we haven't seen any, you got to wonder, do we see more for selling? Do we see these dead bodies start to flow up in a couple weeks? And that could hamper the rebound. I don't know what you guys think about that.
It's definitely possible. I would say that it doesn't. I don't think it's going to be anything like a 3AC or a FTX situation, because in the 3AC situation, you had this one player that accumulated a massive, massive loan portfolio and just completely blew up. And no fund today is capable of doing it. No fund today can get the same size in the market relative to where the market is on leverage and then blow up in the same way. There might market makers take loans all the time. It's very possible that there were market makers that blew up, and they do have debt. But it goes back to who's net long, like who's massively net long that has debt to repay that's going to need to sell outright assets to repay that debt. There are not that many people. Even the people that blew up probably weren't massively levered long outright.
Even the DATs aren't levered in that sort of way.
No, the
the DATs are not. The DATs can't.
equity funded.
Yeah.
They're fine.
The DATs are fine for now.
I mean, the prices might.
Because none of them got liquidated, as far as I know.
That would be
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see what the market opens on those DATs. And actually, in half an hour, so I'm going to be jumping on the stream here to a DAT State of the Union panel, which will be, that's great timing. I'm excited to dig into that one. So we'll get some takes on how they think about the State of the Union. But yeah, as it stands now, I don't see why they would be a forced seller.
No, their equity, and those management teams will hold on for dear life for their, they got incentive to not let go of those. I think, that was the big lesson in 2022. I don't think we're at that scale of a potentially this could have been a capital destruction event equivalent to some of the 2022 events. But the big learning there was don't jump to the gun, because you have to wait for the body, at least a body to float to the surface before you have a green light. Like I kind of lean towards the next 2 weeks. You can kind of wait for confirmation or just be patient, because I do still see a period of, from a flows perspective, earnings perspective, corporate blackout perspective, I don't see a mad rush to get back in. So, but I wouldn't expect anything huge.
There's an argument to be made, though, that if things come back fine, you're not going to be able to get back in because so many people just invest.
Yeah.
And I tend to be an optimist when it comes to these markets and err to the side of getting a little bit early.
Yeah.
Rather than get in late, because it also psychologically makes it easier to hold that position and actually get in that position. And so because of what we just saw with this huge amount of de-risking, both in TradFi and in crypto, if the market continues to tick up and doesn't revert over the next day or two, I think you start to get some real FOMO back into the market and people start piling back in, because I think it's one of the hardest things psychologically to,
if you got liquidated,
to lose money, have the market go down and then have it bounce right back. You get this, you one of two things happen, because I've seen this happen to fund managers, to friends. You either turn into a perma bear.
Yeah. Oh, it's possible.
And you go, this market's a scam. Everything sucks. I'm going to short. And in that case, they're short. They're like upside liquidation fuel. Or you are like, I can't like miss out on the next run. I have to get in right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you like, I'm almost the opposite. I'm like, I kind of want to move fast into the market now. And if things don't move up quickly, then I'm cutting. I'm cutting. I'll almost do it like, that's the way that I'm thinking.
Yeah, to your entry too, because if you're buying up here after the big
rebound,
mean reversion bounce. But I agree, like Bitcoin carved a beautiful, ETH carved a beautiful candle. Like you have to see stocks, even if stocks chop, we could be in a scenario where stocks are down a couple percent from highs at the end of the month, and corn's kind of back to highs, and like nothing happened.
Looking for secure, regulated digital asset custody? Kraken Custody delivers institutional-grade qualified custody for institutions and high net worth clients. With multi-layer security, your assets stay safe, fully segregated, and always under your control. Trade, stake, and transfer directly from qualified custody thanks to Kraken Custody's seamless integration with Kraken Prime. Discover qualified custody built for performance at kraken.com/blockworks. Not available in certain geographies. Custody services provided by Kraken Financial, a Wyoming chartered special purpose depository institution. And deposits are neither insured by nor subject to the protections of the FDIC. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. View legal disclosures at kraken.com/legal/disclosures. The machine economy is here. Devices are monetizing data for their users all over the world. Tokenized robots are generating revenue for token holders. The first machine economy free zone is live in the Emirates, and it's all happening on Peak, the machine economy computer. Head to peak.xyz, that's peaq.xyz, to find out how you can benefit from the age of automation, or click the link in the show notes to find out more. Shout out to today's sponsor, Katana. Katana is a DeFi first chain built for deep liquidity and high yield. No empty emissions, just real yield and sequencer fees routed back to DeFi users. Incubated by Polygon Labs and GSR, Katana is launching with notable ecosystem of primitives, assets, and partners like Morpho, Chainlink, and more. Katana's 1 billion cat campaign is live. Bridge and deposit directly into vaults in one simple click and start earning immediately on your Ether, Bitcoin, USDC, and more. Follow the link in today's show notes to get started. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk, terms, and conditions apply.
Oh, I was gonna say, we haven't talked about gold.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason it came to my mind is because of what you said. Bitcoin can go back to all-time highs with equities down because gold is still ripping.
Yeah.
And it's like the thesis is playing out before our eyes. Where's capital going to go? Like we're flush with it right now. Central banks keep buying gold as well. And the higher gold goes, the better relative value Bitcoin looks. And I remember when gold was, I think it was when it was 2000, it was like 12 trillion or something like that. It was like 12, when it was $2,000, it was like 12 trillion.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin's almost there. It's within shooting distance. Like I would have said now, oh man, like maybe Bitcoin doesn't have great risk reward because if we're comping it to gold, like it's actually getting pretty close to that 12. Now gold's 25 trillion. And so now we have a much larger ceiling, and that's what makes me, pretty bullish on the market in general, is that we have massive tailwinds still.
For sure. It's very rare. I talked about this in my LP update call last week. It's very rare that gold is doing what it's doing while risk assets are at all-time highs and moving higher.
Yeah.
It's a very rare thing. And that, I don't think, we talk about debasement, we talk about fiat going to zero, but I don't think we quite even really understand how big of a problem it is, because normally gold is a safe haven asset that is a beacon in a storm, and people are rotating capital from a stock bond portfolio into it. And it's like, we're seeing every boat. And that's, to me, a sign of the actual liquidity and debasement issue, where all these assets are rising.
If you truly want an alt season, then the only way it's going to happen
we are underestimating
is if Bitcoin
what that means for nominal prices in general. And to me, that's why Bitcoin is like this on 3 years, because nominally it is inflating, aka the denominator is deflating, and that is a strong enough tailwind for 15-20% a year. And then you get the big sailor front ran a bunch. We effectively in corn haven't gone anywhere since December 24. 10 months.
Yeah.
Think of that. 10 months.
Yeah.
Price hasn't gone anywhere. What's the move going to be when we get out of here? We're talking a a November 24 or a October 23 move, in my opinion, when we come out of this.
The hard part is just
10 months of consolidation.
the hard part is how messy that process is because of all the leverage we've talked about. Like gold, it's just like you look at CME positioning in gold, it's super muted. So it's just like constant TWAP from central banks of China. And then Bitcoin, it's like, last week we saw that breakout to all-time highs, and then it's like psych, everybody goes max long on leverage. The breakout, open interest explodes, and then you get one negative tweet, and then the whole thing just implodes. So it's just like,
and everyone's like, is it over? So this was the 4-year cycle top? And you're like, oh my God.
dude, I think that is key, is that now you're going to get all the people that think, all right, 4-year cycle is over. We had that moment. It aligns the timing. And then my read is that I think 2026, like you look at that macro backdrop, it hasn't changed an ounce. For me, you got big, beautiful bill stimulus finally kicking in for good there. You got Jerome Powell getting replaced. Regardless if they can control the Fed, you're still going to have a super dovish Fed chair, regardless.
Yeah.
So that's all going to happen. So I think you're going to get the people that are cycling out for the 4-year cycle. And then 2026 is going to keep coming in. That institutional bid, like, they don't really care about the halving cycle that much, right? Like, they're not.
If anything, they're going to do the math and realize, whoa, that's bullish.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to keep bidding. And then 2026, I think it's going to catch a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about the 4-year cycle, and I've talked about this on a previous podcast on 1000X, is that it looks completely over. Because the 4-year cycle was driven by attention and adoption. That's what it was driven by at the end of the day. It was people would talk about Bitcoin because of the halving. People would get excited about it. Bitcoin was hugely underowned by the entire world. And so you'd go through these boom bust cycles of massive adoption, a couple people fall off. Massive adoption, a couple people fall off, all centered around the attention cycle of the halving. Since the FTX bottom, if you're at home and you're watching this, or if you're watching it later, go on TradingView, put on a weekly chart of Bitcoin, and just tell me, and put it on log. Does the last 2 years, 3 years look anything like any other year of Bitcoin?
No.
There's no parabola. There is no 100% in a week. It's actually a pretty gradual rise higher, because what's happening now is I think we're past the attention phase. Now we're in the slow adoption phase. Everyone in the world knows what Bitcoin.
And you look at Bitcoin vol just like this at the same time.
Bitcoin vols, you can see like high 30s, 40s on options.
Yeah.
It's like we're in the slow adoption phase right now and allocation phase. Everyone knows it's not the attention phase anymore. So my view is that it can follow what gold did. I mean, you see gold went sideways for a while around that 3,000 or 3,300 level, went sideways for a while, and then just straight line up to 4,000. I think if Bitcoin manages to stay above 100,000 for the next month, you buy it and you can see 200,000 in the next 6. I mean, basically, unless it completely collapses, this thing is about to rip because of that dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people, OGs, that sold because
this distribution of the last 10 months is wild.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Yeah, you got ancient wells getting
right.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
And guess what? I guarantee you they're back in if it starts ripping.
Have to.
Like, they're addicted. I know that because I anyway, it doesn't matter why I know that. What? I might be addicted.
Yeah.
It's not just Bitcoin, by the way. It's Ethereum. When I talked to, if you look at the distribution, I talked about it last week.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal amount of long-term selling in both. It's we're primed. You just need to get the geopol settled down. But either way, I mean, on a relative value, when you plot it versus stocks versus gold versus, I think people are seeing this, and what a better move before. Bitcoin always does something. This reminded me of August 17, 2023. I don't know if you guys remember that. I remember it because I was on a flight to vacation in the summer and get off the plane and everything got nuked 15%. Nuked.
Yeah.
Like everyone was like, what the heck just happened? It was August 2023, and that was a massive clearing event before one of the biggest runs in Bitcoin's history. It doubled in the next 4 months after that. I kind of think this was August 17, 2023, where everyone's kind of looking around like, what was that about?
Yeah.
No one really knows. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, this is a great entry for every single person who wanted to get into into the asset class that couldn't.
But part of it is a rotation out of alts. Like when alts get wiped, people consolidate into majors and they consolidate into Bitcoin. I mean, how much did they say was liquidated? 40 billion?
Something. Yeah, 20 to.
Yeah.
If you had 40 billion that shifted into Bitcoin, that's going to send the price higher. If you got half of that, if you got let's say a fourth of that capital comes into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, I'm out. Because the total losses are nowhere close to that. Total losses estimated 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Right. So there's still a lot of capital out there that can get into Bitcoin. If it says, if these people, if you, the listener, have the courage to eschew all
my bags.
Yeah. Exactly.
and get long BTC, and I'll give you some numbers to back it up. I tweeted this, but for those that didn't see, if you're 10x long a 40 vol asset Bitcoin, you're looking at about a 2% move a day. On average, the one standard deviation move is 2%. If you're long a 120 vol asset, which is like a Solana or other altcoin, you're looking at a 7.5% move a day. Standard deviation. That means if you're 10x long, there is approximately a 20% chance that you will get liquidated on a alt position, and about a 0.001% chance you get liquidated on a Bitcoin position. Huge difference.
Yeah.
So like, I guess what I'm trying to explain to you is that the risk profile actually, to me, always makes a lot more sense to go bigger on the large caps than to go, to basically take out leverage on the large caps than to take out leverage, even much less leverage, like 3x, 4x long on an alt versus a 10x long on a Bitcoin, in my mind, are comparable things.
Yeah.
You look at the upside the last few years, even only adds more credence to that. Because you're not playing for the same alt upside you were 3 years ago. You get.
All right, we got 2 minutes left before we wrap up and go to the next thing. But just want to hear you guys super quick. How are you navigating the next month or so? It sounds like we're all kind of in agreement. It's like you still have this pocket until the end of the month because of that possibility for Trump and Xi Jinping to keep going tit for tat higher, and then that off ramp. So how do you guys think about that for the next month or so?
I mean, my answer is I'm in the market right now. I'm a buyer now, and if nothing happens in the next 3 days, then I'm out. But I think now is the time to move fast, personally.
Yeah, I'm a believer that this move out of here, if and when we get it, will be dramatic and sustained. So I'm maybe in a little less of a rush. I'm sort of in like scale in mode over and if you get confirmation of a move higher, slam, or if you get a pullback into value, slam, and kind of strategic that way. I think if the biggest mistake you can make is taking this one-off event as like, shading or dooming the prior view, and kind of leaving the market, because it's these things always happen, like darkest before dawn type of thing.
100%. All right, that's all we got for this first segment. Avi, thanks for joining, man.
Thank you so much. It was really fun.
Yeah,
it was really fun, guys.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
All right.
Nothing said on the 1000X podcast is a recommendation to buy or sell any investments or products. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and the views expressed by anyone on the show are solely their opinions, not financial advice or necessarily the views of Blockworks. Our hosts, guests, and the Blockworks team may hold positions in the company's funds or projects discussed.
So this is the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and this is the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. And at first glance, it would be very easy to dismiss this as just another Chinese iPhone clone, because it kinda is, and that's kind of how it first hit my radar. Xiaomi has been making their flagships very friendly to iPhone users for years now, and this one's no exception. It's an extremely similar shape. It has the same flat sides, the speakers and the antenna lines, and just the general aesthetic look familiar. Like this one's camera plateau is very reminiscent of the new iPhones. And it doesn't end there. The software experience has also for years taken some not so subtle cues from iOS, from the quick control pull down to certain stock app aesthetics to even certain widgets and icons. They have their own dynamic island going on up there. And Xiaomi even, yes, changed the name of their whole flagship phone lineup, skipping a number, to match the iPhones. So yes, there is a base Xiaomi 17, 17 Pro, and 17 Pro Max this year. But, as I talked about in my switching video, link below the like button, that stuff's just to get you in the door. That's just to make you comfortable. But then once you start looking into the rest of this phone and actually using it like I have, that's when you're exposed to all the rest of what makes it so good. And this phone is a spec monster that feels, I guess, specifically designed to one-up the iPhone. It's like an iPhone, but better. Like, take this display, for example. This is the Pro Max, so it's the same size, 6.9-inch diagonal as the iPhone Pro Max. Pretty similar, even bezels all the way around. Now, it's actually slightly beat on resolution, but you can never tell that with your eyes. What you can tell is it does get noticeably brighter, and it has a much smaller cutout at the top because it trades Face ID for a super fast ultrasonic fingerprint reader underneath the display. So, you know, like an iPhone, but better. But, you know, maybe all that's not that impressive to you. Like, the iPhone's display isn't that unbeatable. What about the chip? Because the iPhone Pro Max is the one you get when you want the absolute maximum performance, and that A19 Pro chip with the vapor chamber.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of people have told me that. So I think, what time is it? Yeah, so a couple people have been telling me that over the past couple weeks. I think what I'm gonna do here, I have this under a 2-year warranty from Best Buy, so I'm just gonna go ahead and, after I get these scheduled, return it and get a replacement. And then I'll be back here and having a brand new one. Yeah, that way it'll be better, because it's not just you who's been saying that. So now I'm thinking that it's definitely me. Who's here?
Hey, man.
I'm just gonna get these scheduled and then go get a. Hey, Avel, I'm working on these like comics. Like, take a look at the corral here. I'm working on some of these that we can and should be posting on the Study Nakamoto
The Xiaomi 17 Pro Max is one of the first phones shipping with the new Qualcomm flagship chip, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5,
What do you need me to
and
do?
turns out it's made some solid strides in performance over the already impressive Snapdragon 8 Elite, to the point where it's essentially now matching the iPhone's record-breaking single-core performance, bar for bar, and it's actually beating it in multi-core and GPU, so now it has credible claim to just be the world's fastest mobile chip, period. And it's paired with 16 gigs of RAM and up to a terabyte of fast UFS 4.1 storage. So yeah, I'd say like an iPhone, but better. But okay, every flagship phone is fast these days. That's just bragging rights, you know, a little higher benchmark scores here or there, whatever. What about battery? That's where the Pro Max is supposed to excel, right?
Dog there, boom.
Yeah, so the smaller Xiaomi 17 Pro is already
and if you have any information
silicon carbon battery we've ever seen
about it,
it is a
great. Like, for example, for the
milliamp-hour
Solana
battery.
one,
that's already
or for the
bigger
EVM
than
one,
the
I had,
S25
you know,
Ultra, bigger
make
than the
sure
OnePlus
that
13,
people who have only
bigger
used
than any iPhone
Solana
ever
would be
made
able
by
to
a mile,
understand
and that's
this
without
and
getting
then
rid of
give
the
me a
SIM card
caption
tray.
for it.
But then this Pro Max, well, this Pro Max
Or
has
for
a
the bridge one I did, you know, I know how to
7,500
use change
milliamp
now,
hour
so
battery.
do it about change now, because that's an easy way for
7,500
people to
milliamp
bridge
hours.
over.
And it has 100-watt wired charging with a charger that comes in the box.
All right,
And it has
fantastic.
50-watt
I'm
wireless
starting to
charging.
post
Something
some of these
ridiculous.
comments.
You know, I haven't really had it long enough to test it,
So
just a few
we
days,
should
and I can't even
absolutely
really
be hitting
daily this
these,
phone
and I'm
since
gonna
it's the
go,
China-only model, which is a bummer. But I
on
kind of
here
have
and
zero
then
doubts that
post.
this is going to be a great battery performer. So if that's something you care about at all with a Pro Max
We
flagship
also have
phone,
some people
it's all here.
who
And the fact that it's silicon
are
carbon means you get all this extra capacity,
chatting,
but the phone's not any thicker or heavier.
to Study
because of it.
Nakamoto
Matter of fact,
on
this phone is lighter
Telegram.
than the iPhone
So
17
if we could
Pro
go
Max.
into the buffer
My
and
favorite
get
stat,
that,
though,
that'd
might
be
be that
great.
it has 22.5-watt reverse wireless charging. So you can use this phone as a battery bank to wireless charge all kinds of other accessories
let me check
and
it
could
out.
charge up an iPhone from I think,
Fantastic.
dead
I'm gonna
to
go get this
100%
thing
if you
solved
really
here
wanted to.
before rush hour.
Yeah, the battery
because
is
that's
kind of
across
nothing
town.
like
So
the iPhone.
I'll be back
Just
in like an
now,
hour or
if it's
so.
cameras that you care about, well, naturally the triple 48
Okay,
megapixel cameras on the iPhone
see you.
17 Pros will appeal a lot to you. I don't think it's a coincidence, though, that this Xiaomi is nicely outfitted also with triple cameras that are 50 megapixels each for a nice little one-up. But it's not the megapixel count that matters. What matters is all three of these cameras are actually really good. They're super impressive. They each take very detailed, crisp shots with a naturally shallow depth of field, and honestly, mostly decent colors with some different tastes. You know, they tend to overexpose my skin tone on my face, like a lot of other phones from this region do, but my own skin tone with no faces detected is way more accurate. The telephoto has also been really impressing me. It's a 5x optical zoom, and it has even more natural bokeh and naturally a really nice portrait look. And these are all just the 12 megapixel stills, not even full 50 megapixel shots. And then there's a bunch of other really nice customizations in the camera app UI. Things like 8K video, which you're watching right now. Also the little exposure slider in auto mode, which is always there. I actually use that a lot and it's sweet. Also teleprompter mode, which lets you read text while you are talking to the camera and no one would ever know. Mostly. But there's one more important thing. One more very important thing that I've somehow gotten this far into the video without mentioning yet, which is that if you hit this little button all the way up in the corner, that turns on the preview on the rear display, the back display. Because yes, that entire back camera plateau I mentioned earlier is actually a full corner-to-corner 3000 nit 120 hertz OLED display. And it's kind of a lot of screen actually. On the 17 Pro, it's 2.7 inches diagonally. Here on the Pro Max, it's 2.9 inches. And it's only really interrupted by the camera cutouts. So turning it into a viewfinder for those primary cameras makes a lot of sense to take just the highest quality selfie as mankind has ever seen. Kind of a no-brainer. And then you get all of the normal photo controls too. You can do zoom, you can control aspect ratio and video modes and stuff like that. So that is the number one use of this back display. But now that it's so much bigger, there's also way more that you can do with it. You might remember a couple years ago, this is not the first time Xiaomi's done a screen on the back camera bump of one of their flagships. Like the Xiaomi 11 Ultra wasn't that long ago, and it had the same thing, an absolutely gigantic camera bump and a little screen on the back. But the thing is, this concept is kind of evolving now, just like the outside screen on flipping phones. Like when they were small, you could kind of only really use it as a clock or maybe a notification alert banner, and that's about it. But then it got a bit bigger, and it was enough to see yourself in the camera viewfinder, so that was nice. And now the year is 2025, and it's a full screen, edge to edge, with just camera cutouts, and there's way more you can do with it. So on this phone, you can double tap to wake it up, where it's showing clock in whatever style you want. Could be an analog style, could be a cartoon style, could be an Apple Watch ripoff style, whatever you want. But once it's awake, then you can swipe down to check your notifications and manage them there. You can also swipe over from the cameras to open straight to the camera app, and you can swipe over from the right edge to close whatever's open. And then a lot of the customization on the back here is frankly just like an Apple Watch. And that's probably exactly how Apple would do it if they suddenly had a screen on the back of the iPhone. So you can hold down and then swipe to go back and forth between your watch faces or clock faces. And then if you want to add more options, the Settings app has a whole section dedicated to personalization, changing colors and dialing in all sorts of looks and themes. Everything from complicated watch complications to fitness-themed widgets to anime characters, it's everything. And there's a whole marketplace of all sorts of other options, so there's something for everyone. And then just beyond even the always-on clock on the back of the phone that you can always see and see your notifications and the camera viewfinder, there's all sorts of other little extra stuff too. Like this feels very well considered. It's like a real, genuine feature, a reason to buy the phone. I feel like they've pushed it over beyond gimmick into actual useful thing. Like this can also show ongoing notifications. So if you've got a timer running, flip the phone over and it shows this nice little draining liquid animation to show your progress on that timer. Why would you do this over watching a countdown on the main display? I don't know, but looks cool. And then it also shows me other ongoing stuff like phone calls or music playback, and then I control them from that back screen. Why would I do this on the back screen instead of the main screen? I still don't really know, but looks cool. They even made this ridiculous retro handheld gaming case for the phone with real buttons and a D-pad. So if you put that on the back of the phone, it connects via Bluetooth and it becomes a controller to play these mini games on that back screen. I can't believe they actually made and sold this. Now, why? Why would anyone want to play games on the tiny back display with two huge camera cutouts poking through it instead of actually some real impressive games on that awesome main screen? I still don't know. And I probably wouldn't do it, but nostalgia really does some crazy things to some people's brains. But really, I bring up all of this just to highlight that this is clearly the most well thought out, most complete version of this screen on the back idea that I think we've ever seen. Like I said, we've seen it before. We saw Xiaomi do it with that 11 Ultra, but we also saw the Nothing Phone 3, which did that dot matrix thing, which was kind of useful sometimes, or even the ROG Phone 9 for that matter. But none of them quite passed the threshold of gimmick for me. This back screen really has me taking more selfies than I ever thought I would in my life just because of how good the cameras are. And the fact that they've done it all with basically no drawbacks, that's the other thing. Like, it's edge to edge, it's corner to corner. It somehow doesn't disrupt the weight distribution of holding the phone. And like I said, it's lighter than the Pro iPhone. It's still IP68. You can dunk the whole thing underwater if you want to. And it even has a screen protector pre-installed on both the front and the back screen because, you know, you're gonna put that phone down on some debris once in a while. And yeah, you could still break it if you smash it, but so would a normal glass back anyway. So I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. I am bummed that I can't use this phone as my daily because, like I said, it's straight from China. This is a China version of it. And shout out to D-Brand for actually going and getting one in my hands because a lot of you were tweeting at me to check it out. So I'm glad I did. And I hope we can get some more phones like this over in these parts because it's kind of embarrassing what it does next to the stuff that we have available. Anyway, that's been it. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.
Our next speaker is what happens when you cross an engineer, a philosopher, a Bitcoin evangelist, with a filing cabinet full of patents. He's an entrepreneur, an executive chairman, and the co-founder of Strategy, previously known as MicroStrategy. And if that wasn't enough, he is an incredible philanthropist. He contributes to many, many causes that are focused on bringing not only Bitcoin, but so many other important things to as many people as possible. He is the only man alive, possibly, who has turned corporate treasury management into an extreme sport. Please put your hands together for Michael Saylor.
Thank you for being here today. I'm delighted to see you all. And the subject of my speech today is the evolution of the early crypto industry into the modern global digital asset economy. And I think it's, there's no better place to deliver this speech than Washington, D.C., and in this present day and age, in the year of 2025, because this city has been instrumental in catapulting the early crypto industry into a global digital asset economy. And the entire industry and most of the ideas of the industry that were developed by the libertarians, the cypherpunks, the crypto entrepreneurs, the cowboys, the idealists, the dreamers, the entrepreneurs, all of those ideas over the past 12 months have been legitimized, institutionalized, are being commercialized, and what we can see now is a new consensus forming globally. And I don't think you could have said this 12 months ago. Literally in the past 12 weeks, I believe there is a consensus that's forming and a set of shared ideas that are emerging in the industry, and I'm excited to share them with you. So with that, let's just start discussing all the basis of crypto ideas. The first big idea was a digital commodity, the idea of an asset without an issuer. That was the Bitcoin dream, peer-to-peer cash. Something that you could own through possession of private keys, something you could transfer without asking anybody's permission, something that existed apart from a bank, from a corporation, from a government. That was Satoshi's dream. That idea of a digital commodity, an asset without an issuer, has spawned extraordinary enthusiasm and excitement. It is, in essence, the basis of the entire Bitcoin movement. But there are a lot of other nuances, a lot of other ideas that actually came to the forefront along the way over the past 15 years. One of them is not just the idea of a digital commodity, but what does it mean to have a digital scarcity? I can create an asset without an issuer. Silver and gold and timber and soybeans meet that description, but they're not scarcities. I can create an asset without an issuer that has an inflation rate of 5% a year ad infinitum. It would meet the requirement of a digital commodity, but it would not be a digital scarcity. One of the fortunate happenstances of history is that Satoshi chose a monetary policy that wasn't just calculated to be predictable, because you can predict 2% inflation forever, but he actually chose a monetary policy that asymptotically approached 21 million, which meant that it was absolutely scarce. So in so doing, with the creation of Bitcoin, we didn't just create the world's first globally accepted digital commodity, we created the world's first globally accepted digital scarcity. And it turns out that we are now realizing that the killer use case of digital scarcity is digital capital. That is, the preservation of economic energy over time, not just over space. If you have a digital commodity you can transfer in a permissionless fashion, you can transfer money through space. But, we can transfer dollars through space and pesos through space. That doesn't make it a good store of value for 1,000 years. So, and even gold, for example, which has got, let's just say, a 2% inflation, it makes it sort of appropriate for transferring economic value and energy over time, but 2% inflation means a half-life of 35 years. 0% inflation means a half-life of forever. The difference between immortality and living 70 years is 2% versus 0%. So the early crypto economy, it had this idea of a commodity and a scarcity. People thought about it. And then along the way, a lot of other ideas manifested themselves. I mean, one of the great compelling ideas is self-custody. And self-custody means and implies digital property. There's digital information, like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It's non-conservative. You can transfer it to anyone. You can copy it. Nobody owns Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. But when you actually create a piece of information that you can convey ownership of via private keys, you can own it, and therefore it goes from being just digital information to digital property. So the dream of digital property also motivated this industry for a long time, because with that came the idea of inalienable property rights, unfettered property rights, absolute property rights. Another great dream of the industry, an exciting idea, was the idea of being able to transfer your assets, non-censorship transferability. And that meant that this wasn't going to be local property. This was going to be global property. So the crypto industry was all about global property rights. And when we think about that, the 20th century gave us property in the form of real estate, you know, in the form of livestock, in the form of physical commodities, in the form of art, in the form of financial assets. But every other piece of property you hold at the pleasure of someone more powerful than you. And generally, they're either permanently local property or they're conditionally global property. Try to take a bar of gold through an airport and you'll find that you don't really have property rights. And so the idea in the crypto industry was, what if you could own it? What if you could transfer it? What if no one could stop you? And then along the way, people struggle with this idea of medium of exchange. And one of the big things that came out of the crypto industry was stable coins. How do you tokenize currencies? And of course, we saw that start slow, and then it got a little bit stronger. But what you had was small experiments with stable coins, and some of them were good, and some were bad, and some were ugly, and some crashed to zero, like UST or the Terra Luna complex. But the idea was there. Now, another interesting idea, and it's not a bad idea, the idea of being able to move currencies at the speed of light between billions and billions of smartphones, not a bad idea. It's pretty obvious on the surface why you might want that. The other ideas that came out of the crypto industry were tokenizing brands and tokenizing real-world assets. And they experiment with them, you know, with crypto kitties and all sorts of NFTs. And what did they have? The industry had a lot of wonderful, interesting, exciting ideas. The idea of tokenizing a brand is every celebrity on earth or every small business on earth could raise capital and could change their business model. You could tokenize memberships. You could tokenize fan clubs. You could tokenize just about anything. And the idea of tokenized currency is money at the speed of light 1 billion times a second between computers. And the idea of digital property was property rights to 8 billion people that can't be deprived of. And the idea of global was a network of the highest common denominator. The most profound idea is I buy Bitcoin in Arkansas, I bury my Bitcoin hardware wallet in the ground behind my house, I go to sleep for 30 years, and I wake up and I find that an entrepreneur in Beijing and Singapore and Abu Dhabi and London found, you know, or, you know, a dude, sailor, you know, in Miami Beach comes up with a way to buy hundreds of billions of dollars of Bitcoin, drives the price to $10 million a coin, and I got rich without understanding what they did, without knowing anything about them. Maybe I get rich because someone in Russia, China, and the Middle East, and Nigeria did something that makes me rich. That's never going to happen to you if you just invested in Arkansas real estate or Arkansas timber or Arkansas art or Arkansas financial assets. The idea that there's a global economy that's conspiring by any means necessary to make you rich was like a first in human history. Very powerful. Now, what did the crypto economy not have? Okay, here's what it didn't have. It didn't have legitimacy. It didn't have corporations. It didn't have banks. It had no support from insurance companies. It didn't have adult supervision. It didn't have a lot of common sense. People did stuff in the industry that's just crazy. You know, if you find one of the ambitious banks of the world today, they're just lightening up and they're beginning to offer 20% advance rates against IBIT that they have clear line of sight to. That's 20% leverage. You go to a crypto exchange, you can trade cross margin 20x. That's 2,000% leverage. 40x, 4,000% leverage. We had, you know, if you actually found a bank that gave you 80% advance rates, they would consider it to be cavalier and irresponsible today. But we're talking about a complete Wild West in crypto where people could give you 4,000% leverage. And if you daisy chain 3 of these assets together, you get 40x by 40x by 40x. And, you know, and people are wondering, you know, what could go wrong? People say to me, well, Why won't the crypto winter happen again? And what caused it? Well, what caused it was daisy chaining 2,000% leverage across 3 different assets, and having irresponsible risk managers or non-existent risk managers. Trust me, it's not possible to do that with JP Morgan or Bank of America or Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley with any other conventional asset. So the industry, it didn't have the bankers, it didn't have capital. There's no money. When we bought $250 million worth of Bitcoin, I put it out on the wire. I didn't realize at that time we were the first public company to buy Bitcoin in any size. And I didn't realize that was the largest investment of actual capital in a crypto network in the history of the industry. Okay? It just didn't occur to me. I had other things on my mind. I was trying to save my company. But think about that for a second. There was no capital. The early years were 2009 to 2020. Then the transition years were 2020 to 2024. And that was the time period when we still didn't know what this was. It still wasn't quite legitimate. You had, of 12 cabinet members in the Biden administration, 1 was neutral, skeptical to Bitcoin, hostile to everything else. And all the other ideas, digitizing a brand, tokenizing a security, tokenizing a currency, free, 24/7, 365, trading at the speed of light, all those ideas were dismissed as irrelevant, unnecessary. And, and the entire view of the industry was a bunch of scam artists, we should shut it all down. The Bitcoin thing I don't like, but I can't kill it. I acknowledge that it's sort of an asset with an issuer, but I'm not going to help anybody embrace it. I'm going to fight a rearguard action to slow it down as long as I can. Hence, there are no in-kind creator redemptions of Bitcoin ETF. The ETFs, they dragged their heels. It took 10 years to approve a Bitcoin ETF, right? If you cover that from 2013 or something to 2024, that's how long it took to even approve one. When they were approved, they were crippled. They were crippled in their dynamics, like in-kind creates. They were also, their options markets were crippled. They had no options market. In fact, the options market on IBIT was crippled until about a few weeks ago. So that gives you a sense of how long the establishment took dragging their feet on just basic Bitcoin. But there was no love for anything else. And these other ideas, they're not awful ideas. Why can't 400 million small companies in the world raise capital over the weekend instead of taking 3 years? It literally takes 3 years to go public.